fire distributed into two zones, an east zone and a west zone of the fire. The east zone of the fire is predominantly in Napa County, and the west zone is going to be in Sonoma County. Starting in the east zone, there is a fire that is threatening the community of Calistoga. We do have resources that are assigned to that area, actively suppressing fire and doing active structure defense in that area. Some pretty rough terrain as far as being able to work within that to be able to put any sort of control lines. So it's a bit of a challenge to do actual construction of a fire line in that area. But we do have engine companies and some hand crews in there working diligently to extinguish and suppress that fire and keep it in check. We move over to the north part of the fire in the Branch 4 area, Division Hotel in Juliet in particular. Very rough, steep terrain, very rugged terrain, heavy fuels in that area, and that's creating a lot of challenges with us, with a lot of the drainages, fire establishing in those drainages, and very difficult for us to establish control lines. Every time we try to construct some control lines, the fire is outflanking us, and so we're having to back off to further ridge lines to get a control line in place. Moving down to the community of Angwood, we're able to push the fire around the community of Angwood. It's still intact, hasn't been impinged by fire, but we are working diligently, working around that community to try to establish control lines around that community and protect the community. Same as we move down towards the Silverado Trail area, we have different areas that we've had full extinguishment, others where we have significant hot spots, not only on the trail but also on the Highway 29 corridor. So that's creating a lot of what we call calls for service because of the original fire that it's spotted within those areas or burned through the Napa River area and various tributaries. It's been able to move the fire through the various vineyards that we typically can use as a control point to spread the fire, and it has created some situations where it's destroyed a few structures from that. Moving on to just outside of the Whitehall Lane area, we are going to be performing a firing operation in what's called Division Uniform, and so we're preparing for that backfiring operation. That being successful, that will tie in the fire to the Sonoma County line. Last night they were able to go from the Sonoma County line just outside of Sugarloaf State Park, put in a firing operation, tying it down just above the community of Kenwood. That has sealed that part of the fire off on the Sonoma County side, and we're just in the process of mopping that up. Not completely out of the woods yet there because of the coming weather we're concerned with that will test those lines. The Highway 12 corridor is looking better, where we have our folks in tactical patrol, and what they're doing there is picking up hot spots and so forth around the numerous structures. A lot of that has self-extinguished in the lighter fuels or was suppressed by our fire personnel, and a lot of calls for service in that area as well. We do have some fire that got into the Annandale State Park. We did a firing operation last operational shift. That was successful. They're continuing to mop that up. And again, a concern will be with the coming weather for that line to hold as well. Moving along to Calistoga Road, just outside the city limits, more in the county area. We did have some challenges with the fire there. Did a burnout operation, a firing operation last night. That had success holding it on to Calistoga Road. And then moving on to the Sonoma County, Napa County line, again, where it connects into just below Calistoga. That's another active part of our firefight that we are actively engaged in at this point. As far as aircraft, we do have a number of aircraft, both rotary wing helicopters and fixed wing, that are attached to this incident. The challenge we have is because of the air. If it's not clear enough for us to fly, due to safety concerns, we're unable to fly our helicopters or fixed wing aircraft. When the air does clear and presents itself, which we did have a small window yesterday afternoon, then we maximize the use of those aircraft to fly them and help our ground resources suppression-wise. But the challenge has been with the lack of the clear air to be able to fly those aircraft to help our ground crews suppress the fire.
Speaking next, one of our Unified Incident Command agencies from the city of Santa Rosa, Police Chief Ray Navarro.
Thank you, Jonathan. So yesterday we had some good news, and we were able to repopulate a few of the evacuation areas within Santa Rosa. We do still have several areas that are under evacuation orders and warnings. For the latest information, I want to remind the public to go to srcity.org/evac updates. And you can find all the updated information there. Last night, we continue to have officers in these burn areas and evacuated areas, and we have been fortunate. We have not had any looting incidents or any burglary incidents within the city of Santa Rosa. We also have power that is still out in some of these areas, but we have not had any collisions related to any of the power outages. I do want to remind our public to make sure that you are being mindful of the power outages. Things can change very quickly with the power, and that any intersection that does not have power should be treated as a four-way stop sign. Again, just remember that evacuation orders that are continued to remain in place, that it is unlawful to be in these areas, and it is unsafe. We still have public safety personnel going through these areas to address spot fires and potential suspicious vehicles and persons. And whenever people go into these areas unlawfully, we have to allocate resources to those calls, and we still have an entire city to address public safety needs. Currently, there are no re-entry passes for the city of Santa Rosa. Unauthorized persons are not allowed to enter those particular areas. We will continue to monitor and keep watch over the mandated evacuation areas and the warnings. We will continue to work in an emergency schedule. All of our officers are dedicated to both the fire and public safety calls throughout the city, and we're being assisted by mutual aid, and I want to thank those agencies for that. Finally, again, just a reminder for the public, follow us on our social media platforms, both the city and the police department, to get the most updated information. Be careful as you do repopulate when you can. And we are working within Unified Command to make plans for further repopulation in the future. But we have no set date for that as of yet. So we ask for patience, and thank you to the community who are for staying out of these particular areas. Thank you.
Speaking next from the City of Santa Rosa Fire Department is Chief Tony Gosner.
Hello everyone, Tony Gosner, Santa Rosa Fire Chief. Just want to concentrate on Sonoma County a little bit around Santa Rosa. So I'll start out at the Oakmont area. Like you heard Chief Brunton say, there's a lot of tactical patrol going on in and around Oakmont and all of Highway 12. There's still significant properties that we're dealing with out there, but the crews are doing a great job in terms of making sure those hot spots are kicked down. Same thing on Calistoga Road, where we had some fire impact communities there. We are also doing tactical patrol. For the city of Santa Rosa residents, this wind event is going to be serious enough for everyone to pay attention. So whether you live in a warning zone or an evacuation zone, you need to pay attention to the weather and everything around you. It's vital. Everyone keeps telling me, well, how serious it is. We don't know how serious it is until it really happens to us. We know we have weather coming in. We know we have fire on the ground. So we need all of our citizens to pay attention, do the right thing. If you see a new fire, call 911 and report it. But please be very aware of your surroundings and the weather coming in. As a county entity, we will be trying to upstaff additional fire resources within the county. And this is for all initial attack fires that are going to happen outside of this incident. These resources will be available to support the incident as well, depending on what transpires. But it's very important that we keep all new fire starts to a minimum so we can concentrate on what we got going on now. One last thing, two last things. First, the fire in Napa County is going to be in alignment to kind of run into that Mark-West drainage area again, so we are concerned about that. But like everyone said, we feel good about what we have done to protect the communities moving forward. So we do feel good about that, but it is a concern. So everyone needs to pay attention to that. And then lastly, if you want to follow information on srcity.org/evac updates, like the police chief said. All the up-to-date information for the city of Santa Rosa is in there. Has links to county information and CAL FIRE as well. And then you can get additional updates on fire-related information through Facebook at Santa Rosa FD and on Instagram and Twitter at Santa Rosa Fire. Thank you very much.
Speaking next from the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office is Sheriff Essick.
Good morning. I have some very brief comments today. The current situation with the Sheriff's Office and evacuation orders and warnings remains somewhat the same. We have deputies working and patrolling 24 hours a day in the evacuation zones. They're there to answer questions and direct you to safety. That is comprised of approximately 50 deputies working in the fire zones. They are there to ensure that your property is safe, and they're there to ensure that people do stay out of those evacuation zones so that firefighters can get in and fight the fire. That is in addition to our regular complement of 36 deputies. So we're putting out about 86 deputies per day right now to assist with this present emergency. Our partners at California Highway Patrol are also working with us to man traffic control points, as Commander Wolf will talk about in a moment. I do want to talk a little bit about re-entry into those evacuation zones. Unfortunately, we've had 5 incidents where people have re-entered evacuation zones that do not live there and they have no business being there. These 5 people have been arrested, and they were arrested for a section 409 of the Penal Code, which is re-entry into an evacuation zone. Those people had no lawful business to be there, and we believe they were looking for crimes of opportunity. Luckily, we did not have any burglaries or looting, and our deputies were able to apprehend them before anything happened. But to our evacuees, it's an example that the Sheriff's Office is in those zones, patrolling the area, ensuring that your property is safe while you're gone. We continue to ask for your patience. As you've heard from our firefighters and fire command today, we have little containment, and there are many hazards still left behind. The coming weather in the coming days is not necessarily going to be favorable for us, so please stay alert. And you can follow Sheriff's Office evacuation updates on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are updating those 24 hours a day and have staff on hand to answer your questions there. Thank you.
Speaking next from the Napa County Sheriff's Office is Under Sheriff John Crawford.
Good morning. Just a few things. Just a reminder, as it's been represented already today, this fire is a fluid situation. It's by no means static at this point, and due to that, we have had some increases in evacuation orders and warnings over the last 24 hours. We are upstaffed in order to deal with this situation. We have had fulfilled requests from the California Law Enforcement Mutual Aid System, so we do have additional law enforcement resources from outside the area, as well as all of the other law enforcement agencies within Napa County working hard to keep people safe and patrol those areas that have been evacuated. Secondly, I just want to remind people that the evacuated zones are dangerous. There is still active fire. There are trees falling without warning. There are power poles that are down, wires on the ground. So we ask you for your continued patience as we try to keep those areas clear so that utilities and the firefighters can do their work. Lastly, we have seen an incredible outpouring of support from the public, both in Napa as well as Sonoma County and quite frankly across the country through social media, and just wanted to take this time to thank you for that support. It means a lot to us. People are working hard, and when they get that kind of acknowledgement and support from folks across the country, it really means a lot, and it keeps us going. So thank you for that.
Speaking next from the California Highway Patrol is Captain Aristotle Wolf.
Good morning, everyone. Aristotle Wolf. I'm from your local Sonoma County office of the California Highway Patrol. The Highway Patrol continues to bring in resources from all over the Bay Area to support both the Napa and Sonoma County sheriffs in their efforts to control ingress and egress to fire areas, to make sure traffic control points are secure and the folks are safe. By and large, folks are obeying those signs and warnings, and officers at these choke points or traffic control points, but we want to make sure that everyone's clear. If there is not an exception to entry of some kind, which none have been entered in Sonoma County as of yet, then those entry points should not be challenged. There's a reason they're there, and you will not be allowed in, so please make other plans if you haven't already. By and large, Sonoma County and Napa County have shown the strength they have in the past during these incidents. They support their law and fire efforts, but I just want to reiterate that there are certain areas that you cannot enter. Do not try to go to or through the city of Calistoga from the Santa Rosa area. You won't be able to. Do not try to reach the Oakmont area or go through there to go to other areas in the Sonoma Valley from the city of Santa Rosa. You won't be able to. Take other routes, be patient, please continue to support us. Also, just to reiterate, as the Chief of Santa Rosa mentioned, throughout the county there may be power outages at intersections that will affect traffic lights, either making them flash or making them dark. A traffic light that is flashing red or that is dark needs to be treated as a four-way stop. Please continue to monitor your speeds. Please don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution and take care of each other, and we'll get through this. Thank you very much.
Our final speaker this morning, one of the Unified Incident Commanders from CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3 is Chief Billy C.
Good morning. Obviously, in preparation of the potential wind event over the next 48 hours, we'll be diligently trying to secure the back door on this fire. We're going to be looking at the Highway 12, Highway 29 corridor extensively, as well as trying to strengthen our lines in and around the city of Calistoga. We're looking at a very similar wind event that when this fire first started moving out 3 days ago. So now's the time for our firefighters to buckle down. They're going to work diligently to get that door shut and try to protect the communities of Kingwood, the Valley of the Moon, and the Napa Valley in general, all the way down to Yonkville. So we'll be working diligently to get that area mopped up and secured the best we can. But obviously Mother Nature is something that we don't try to guess. So we're preparing for the worst case scenario, and we're hoping for the best. So our firefighters are going to be working around the clock securing those lines. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have. So the question was related to the evacuations that were rescinded yesterday and concern about having to re-evacuate should the weather produce anything.
And the safety of having people go back into areas where there's no electricity.
Sure, I'll hand that to Chief Navarro for any further clarification.
Well, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I could not hear anything over there.
So yesterday there's evacuation orders that are being lifted, downgraded for warnings.
Yeah.
So people can go back in, they live there presumably. However, there's also power outages and there's still active fire in the areas, in the hills of Antidote, for example, and near those areas. Why did you make the decision to let people back in, and are you concerned that they may have to leave pretty soon later this week if it picks up and makes the fire worse?
Yeah, so all the decisions that we make are made in concert with everybody you see here. So we are part of Unified Command, and we, one of the things that we do know that is important is to try to get people back in a safe manner, and when it's safe to do so. So we made a decision yesterday based on the information that I had. To lift those areas. We believe it's safe in those particular areas, but we do want people to be cautious and be prepared because things can change very quickly, right? So winds can change, the fire dynamics can change, and so that's why we are keeping in constant contact with the other public safety officials. We actually have a lieutenant that's in our Unified Command to make sure that we're up to date. And we are we're making these decisions with a lot of thought and preparation. And so as we move forward, there's going to we don't foresee any immediate openings over the next day or so, but again, we're working with everybody else to make those decisions.
How many people in total are under evacuation orders now, and how many were allowed?
I don't have those numbers on me. I can make sure and get those for the next briefing, and I'm not sure if anybody else has that for the county, but we can work on getting those numbers.
I was wondering if we could get some more detail on the Northwest drainage and the fight up there and the worry about the footprint of the Tubbs Fire.
Sure. So the question is related to the Mark West Springs drainage, the footprint of the Tubbs fire, and potential fire activity in that area. And Chief Brunt, would you be able to speak to that, please?
So where you're speaking of, being our division Zulu Zulu and X-ray. So what we have there is due to the fire that occurred a few years ago, there's been a modification of the fuels. So we have some lighter fuels, not as heavy as they were back then. Those burned up, so the fuels that replaced them are lighter. That is a good thing for us, and it's a bad thing for us. The good thing is it's easier for us to work in, to be able to put our control lines and control the fire, do any sort of backfire operations, makes it much easier for us than it being in heavy fuels. The flip side of that coin is that it is a more receptive fuel bed, so if we do get any ash fallout. The positive thing about that particular area with the predicted weather is that we're going to be seeing more of a northwest push of the wind. So what that will tend to do in that particular area is push the fire back into itself. So as far as that one particular area, the weather will help us in that fashion. But that's an area that we're actively working in now, putting control lines. As I had mentioned last night, they were successful in a burnout operation or firing operation along Calistoga Road, Petrified Forest Road in that area to mitigate that issue. So it has potential, but that's an area we're feeling a lot better about.
Maggie, with the Mercury news, can you explain, is this fire right now still doing damage, burning homes and buildings, or is it mostly burning in unpopulated areas?
So the question is the fire still burning structures and that sort of that kind of area, or is it in unpopulated areas? A little bit of both. Currently, we are not experiencing any structural loss. There was some structure loss as of early as yesterday, but we are not experiencing any of that today. Some of that is holdout fires just due to the lack of resources. You have a lot of hot spots, a lot of ember cast, and that was spread due to the winds. And so for us to have a fire engine at every particular structure in every particular area is not possible. So that's why we talk about tactical patrol. It's something that we aggressively do where an engine has to cover a number of structures or a large area at once, and that's what they're actively doing, is going structure to structure, make sure it's secured and that we don't have any further structure loss. But where we are seeing the most active part of the fire right now is in areas that is uninhabited but is in some very steep terrain, heavy fuel loading, heavy drainages and stuff, that area that is really difficult for us to fight fire in. And then the one area that does have some structure potential is just outside of Calistoga, and that's where we're actively involved in structure defense and preparing structures for protection from the fire.
How close to the Calistoga city limits is the part of the flame?
So from the distance from the city of Calistoga is basically one of our decision points for evacuation for the city of Calistoga was Diamond Mountain Road. So the fire has crossed that, and it's up into the hillside above Calistoga. So that, as far as a landmark, that's probably the closest landmark that we have right now that I could give you.
J.D. Morris with the Chronicle. Can you characterize the kind of vegetation that's burning in this fire? The latest incident report mentioned something about heavy dead and down fuels threatening the fire line. Are those fuels dead because of the fire? Is it a drought thing? Can you just kind of speak to what is burning?
So the question is, what fuels is the fire burning in? And the simple answer is everything. Basically, we have everything from grasslands to heavy timbered areas. You have areas that were part of the burn scars from the Tubbs fire and the Adobe fire, those fires that were in 2017. Where this fire made its main push into Sonoma County is an area that was not burned in 2017. And in looking at our fire history, which we have recorded at least 100 years back, we have not seen anything as far as any fire burning through there in at least 80 years plus. So you have some very heavy build of fuels over time for that period of time. You have a lot of the dead fuels that were from the 2017 fires that are still exist out there. So they're very receptive to ember casts and for spot fires. So it makes it easier to ignite. Those heavier fuels, as you've heard many times before, our fuel conditions due to drought is extremely dry, very receptive fuels, and it isn't taking much for fires to establish in them. And once established, to become what we call fuel driven. So the fire burns through there even with very little wind. So even without the wind, which we're glad that we don't have that, it's still a huge challenge because fire is advancing in those heavy fuels. And that's everything from grass to brush to heavy timber that we're experiencing.
And then is the heat that's coming in, will that make it more dangerous than the conditions when this fire started, or is it going to be a bit less? How does it compare to earlier?
So the question is, if the heat coming in, does it make it more dangerous than the original event? Really, the trifecta for the cause or the spread of wildland fire is fuel, weather, and topography, and we have all three of those in alignment, what we call it. So we've got the heat, the dry, low relative humidities. We're going to have wind, which is going to push the fire, and with the heat and the low relative humidities, which are very similar to what was like when this fire started, along with the wind. The wind was a northeast wind. This time we're going to be experiencing a northwest wind. Regardless, it's going to push a lot of potentially the fire in a direction we really don't need or want it to go. And so that's why we're really trying to button up the lower parts of the fire with our burnout firing operations and aggressive mop up there, because that wind, if it's not done so properly, then has the potential for spreading that fire.
Last question, which way will the wind push the fire?
So what we're expecting from the forecast is a wind from the northwest.
Can you be a little more specific about which divisions you're most concerned about with the wind coming up in terms of shoring up containment or staffing resources?
I would say currently we're concerned probably with which shows in the map is Division Kilo Kilo, where we had a successful burn operation. If that holds, we're able to get that fully mopped up. That shouldn't be much of a concern, but for right now, as we stand right now, that is a concern. Division Uniform, we're expecting to do a firing operation, is a big area of concern, because that's an area that could be pushed by the wind. And then really down through that unburned area on the Highway 29 corridor has a high potential because of the very receptive fuel base in the valley floor, and a lot of it that hasn't burned. And what we saw from the fire history of just this past weekend of what it did, the spotting potential and the quick spread of the fire.
All right, we are going to transition now to the Spanish language version. Just a reminder, tomorrow we will have another press conference at 11 a.m. After the Spanish language, everyone up here will be available for one-on-one questions as well. With that, we'll conclude the English language version. We'll transition right into the Spanish. Thank you.